What's up, everybody? You're never gonna guess what they do with these little mud pies here. I'll give you a hint. A lot of times after they make them, they'll bury them for a while. Then, if all goes well, you dig them back up and you eat the grapes that they put inside of them. Yeah, this is an old school way of storing fruits for long periods without refrigeration. What did you think it was? So I had to take a break from this whole circus thing here. I'm almost done with another video, and things keep changing quickly. They just fired 14 Firebirds at a U.S. base, and honestly, this might not be as bad of a thing as some people would lead you to believe. Okay, is anybody else getting sick of hearing about this? Because that's about where I'm at, because anything coming out of American media is BS. First off, the people that actually know what's going on ain't talking to reporters. And we all know the great influence over all of these so-called news outlets, and they want to get us more involved in this for Daddy Benji. So between the lying media and the podcasters reacting to it is just like this, just, ah. And to be perfectly honest, I'm getting my little daily updates about all of this from a dude named Mahmoud. So I'm at least hearing a little bit of both sides of it. And this very much has been a two-way conflict, where anything I hear out of American media is, oh, everything was intercepted. Yeah, right. I watched the stock exchange go up. And everybody in the cities of Yeezy are constantly having to run back down to the shelters. They're getting sick of it. Benji's son just got attacked in one of those shelters because now that somebody's fighting back, nobody wants to fight there anymore. But let's rewind and recap the whole thing really quick here. Blumph has stated many times that he had a 60-day window to work out a deal. And then on like day 63, they went ahead with their preemptive deterrence, which is they went on the offensive. And if you guys were watching over on my temporary channel, the first few nights, pretty spectacular footage. Then Yeezy made it tantamount to treason to be leaking this footage, posting it online. So that kind of cut out any decent reports we've got from the ground level. Then Trump okayed the strikes on the nuclear sites, and I watched everybody cry out in unison, World War III. And then Persia just launched a retaliatory strike on U.S. bases, and I once again watched everybody cry out in unison, World War III. But I'll tell you what I'm thinking here in a minute. So after the strike on the nuclear facilities, AOC and the like come on and say, this is beyond the president's powers as commander-in-chief. I actually watched somebody on Temple the other day that fancies themselves a political pundit and they didn't understand what commander-in-chief is. They actually thought that you have to get all of Congress together and get them to agree to be able to do anything like this. And well, newsflash, you never get everyone to agree on something, and therefore you would never be able to defend yourself if that were the case. I mean, you can't even split those powers up into two different people and expect anything to actually get done. Sorry, but you really do just have to have one person that has the final say on things like that. Now, that being said, I think Blumph should have stayed the hell out of it. Let them fight it out. But that's not what he did. And now geniuses like AOC are saying, oh, this is grounds for impeachment. Okay, well then impeach every president in my lifetime. People like her rely on their base to be too dumb to remember anything from any presidency. This is all just brand new shit. You know, Obama launched all kinds of drone attacks. Literally every president in my lifetime has done this, including Trump in his first term. He took out Soleimani. But nah, forget about all that, because this is definitely dub Trey. Believe it or not, there are international rules of engagement here. And since the U.S. was the aggressor, then Persia had the right to retaliate. Now, how they decide what is considered an escalation or de-escalation is kind of murky waters. But basically what they did was lob some Hail Marys at a base in Qatar. Or I guess we're supposed to be calling it Qatar these days. But here, let me take the clickbait out of all of this. When we sent the B-2s over, we gave them a heads up and said, hey, look, we're going to do it. As of right now, the U.S. is claiming they have no idea where all of the enriched yellow cake is because they moved it prior to the mission. Which, doesn't that seem like that would be a problem if they hadn't moved it? Wouldn't that be the next Chernobyl? Or maybe they've been lying to us about how dangerous all this radioactivity is the whole time. If you guys have ever heard of Galen Windsor, then you know what I'm talking about. We'll talk about that another time. But we gave them a heads up we were sending in the B-2s. They gave us a heads up that they're going to launch a couple Hail Marys at our base. In all honesty, I don't know if they actually even aimed for their base, because the whole reason they're doing this is to tell their people that they've retaliated against the big bad America. And in all honesty, that could be the end of our involvement in this. Now, I don't know that for sure, but this was not an escalatory strike. They knew it wasn't going to hit, and they knew there wouldn't be any casualties out of this. So while the whole internet is screaming, this is Dub Trey, let me just play devil's advocate here. Like I've said many times, the U.S. has had a defense agreement with Yeezy since 1952, I believe. And what it looks to me like just happened is we fulfilled our agreement there. We just took out any possible nuclear threat. But the way I see it is this is where we're going to see just how much sway Benji has over Blumph. Because that very well could be the extent of our involvement in this. I'm not saying that's necessarily what it's going to be, but this very well could be a position now to where Blumph says, well, I upheld our end of this as America, and since we got involved and were the aggressor, then they had the right to strike back against us. They did that, which they're over there telling their people that it was a terrible blow to America, when in reality, it didn't actually pose a threat to anyone. So I see all these people insisting now that this means war, that we're actually involved. Well, is that what it meant 6 years ago when we took out Soleimani, or when Obama and Biden and Bush and all these other people did the same thing? Not necessarily. Now, I've been watching what Persia has done to Yeezy, and they've got the capability of launching many, many birds. But since they didn't actually do that, this looks like a sign of capitulation to me. And as things stand right now, both countries, US and Persia, can both say, well, we did our part according to international law here. So that's it, even Stevens. Now, like I said, I'm not making any prediction on what's gonna happen, but that literally could have just been it. But if Benji has Blumph around his little finger like the internet says, then you can pretty much expect more involvement. Now, what the US media is not telling you about is how every 4 to 6 hours, everybody has to run down to a shelter. This is in Yeezy's major cities. And the people there are so sick of this already that here in one of the high-end gated shelters, you got to have a passcode to get in here and everything. Benji's son went up in here and everybody had had enough and started swinging on him. I heard he had to go to the hospital after this. So things actually aren't going that well in Yeezy, to the point that they are now saying that they're seeking to end this within days, which of course I don't believe anything that they say, but what they're doing here is signaling to their people that, hey, just hang in there a little bit longer and we'll have this all wrapped up pretty soon. According to their newspapers, Arab officials told the Journal that the U.S. has told Arab partners to pass the message to Persia that Yeezy is looking to end the operation, which it launched 10 days ago, soon. Now, this says, according to officials, Persia still feels like it has to retaliate. This was written just hours before they launched on the U.S. base. So like I said, they had the right to strike back. They did. It was a weak one. It definitely wasn't an escalatory strike, which probably means they're going to just call it good after that. While Yeezy is telling its citizens that they've reached their military objectives for Operation Rising Lion, removing the Persian nuclear and ballistic missile threat from Yeezy. What's interesting here is they're not calling for a decapitation the way they've been saying it. They've been saying that Khomeini has to go, but now they're saying, well, we got the nuclear facility, so we're good. So I'm reading this as Yeezy starting to back off some. I can tell you right now, they are not happy with what's going on in their cities right now. I wish I could show you guys some of the footage, but they already had a large portion of their population that wants Benji out, and now after this, he's got a price on his head, basically. So, this very well could start winding down. I hope that this is all of the U.S. involvement in this, because I think everybody's fulfilled their ends of the contract. If the U.S. does get further involved in this, then you can, I'll agree with you 100% that Benji is calling the tune and Blumph is dancing to it. But like I said, the U.S. has had a defense agreement with Yeezy since 1952. I'm sure that part of that agreement is that nobody else can go nuclear against them. So we went in, we did some strikes on those facilities, we upheld our end of the bargain. But honestly, in the short term, this doesn't do a damn thing to help Yeezy because they're still getting hit by all of those non-nuclear birds that they've been flying their way. While the US media is playing this game that the only ones that got through happened to land on hospitals and daycare centers. But I'm telling you, the people living there are getting sick of seeing their place trashed like they've been doing to other people for years. Their deterrent system hasn't been nearly as effective as has been reported and is seriously depleted right now. So I'm not trying to predict what comes next. All I'm saying is that could have been it. We could be storming the beaches there next week. I don't know, but the media and pretty much anybody on YouTube has that side of things covered, so I thought I'd just point out the other possibility here. We all know that Benji wants us full scale into this thing he has for 30 years. So I think we're finally going to get an answer to whether or not Blumph answers to Benji or not. Because if we further our involvement in this after this, then yep, he's probably got something on him. But if we just walk away after this, then it was probably like I was saying the whole time. Blumph and Benji had an agreement that Blumph could try to negotiate, had 60 days to do it. On day 63, they went full kinetic with or without Trump's permission, which I think they did that on their own, knowing that Blumph would be over a barrel and he'd have to do something. And possibly the option with the least collateral damage was just to go take care of the nuclear supposed threat. And then beyond that, you're on your own. And if the buck stops here with all this, then that's probably what I'm going to continue thinking. And if you're sick of hearing about all this like I am, I've been working on a video on another subject the last couple of days, so try to have that out soon. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Static out.